Welcome to what is unquestionably among the most surprising, thrilling, and important to culture moments in the history of tennis in recent times. We're seeing a scenario that is currently taking place now in the desert of California that has event coordinators, seasoned tennis experts, and fans throughout the world entirely startled. Indian Wells is a competition highly esteemed and adored. The fifth Grand Slam, as it is called, is going through a tremendous change in its environment, its population, and its vitality. The whole Indian Wells tennis, the Reason Garden, is astonished, is a youthful, very gifted lady from the Philippines. Thousands of admirers of Alexandra Eala had arrived in California, prepared to fill the stadium to capacity, resulting in an unheard-of surge of support that is endangering this esteemed American competition becomes a domestic match for the sensation in Southeast Asia. To actually recognize the enormity of what is taking on in the Coachella Valley today, we must examine the event's landscape. In the past, Indian Wells draws a very particular, quiet, conventional tennis audience. For purists, it is a sanctuary where they sit silently in the desert sun, providing kind praise for outstanding making shots. However, the traffic on the story of Interstate 10 is rather different. Narrative. Reports of miles are pouring in. Lengthy backups, not the typical desert weekenders, but of caravans that are embellished using the vivid red, white, blue, and the Philippine flag is yellow. This is not only a throng. It's a movement. The sizable Filipino-American population, it has extensive, deep roots. All around Southern California, starting in Los San Diego to Los Angeles, has organized in as such the tennis community has never seen previously. They purchased tickets at a record-breaking speed, surpassing the secondary markets and generating panic at the theater. The stadium's grounds are becoming a bright, thunderous wave of pride in the country, evoking the fabled ambiences often set aside for the Davis Cup finals or the pinnacle of international soccer, not the midst of a WTA Tour tournament, the desert of America. For those who may simply by paying attention to this phenomena, you may be wondering why there is really overpowering, almost hysterical degree of assistance for this young athlete. More than simply a tennis player, Alexandra Eala potential. She is a pioneer who is carrying the aspirations of more than 100 million athletes individuals. She was born in Quezon City. Set off on a quest that few people from her have ever ventured to take. Getting out home at a young age to practice her skills at the RAFA, thousands of miles away, she attends the Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. The first player from the Philippines to ever win a junior Grand Slam championship in singles. She accomplished an unprecedented achievement at the US Open. However, junior achievement doesn't necessarily ensure professional success, and the shift to the women's tour is infamously cruel. However, Eala has traversed this perilous route with a silent, deadly resolve. She has battled her way up to the bottom-level ITF competitions, fighting in obscurity places devoid of the cacophony of a throng just to get the ranking points. Essential for her to remain where she is now. Additionally, upon reaching Indian Wells, she is the silent prospect was no longer playing on the external courts. The major attraction is her. The Indian jolt that rippled across there is a tangible sense of Wells institution. You possess security and tournament directors. Employees rushing to adapt to an environment for which they were, very plainly, unprepared for. It's contagious. Suppliers are running low on items. Practice courts are overcrowded just to see her warming up for a moment. And the customary soft murmur of the tennis garden has been swapped over for drums, rhythmic chanting, and an explosion of pure happiness. This degree of tennis fanaticism is quite uncommon. We had a glimpse of it on the climb. Prominent celebrities like as Naomi Osaka or the famous Leah runs. However, the fan-base mobilization in the Philippines Eala feels unique to Alexandra. It is very private. It is the result of many years of observing one of their own hardship, selflessness, and eventually reach the top levels of a sport that has traditionally been ruled by Americans and Europeans. This introduction, this incredible reality that we are observing is only the surface of a far more intricate and profound story on globalization in athletics, the influence of communities living abroad, and the amazing, indisputable skill of a young lady ready to change the course of tennis institution in a state of total disarray. Let's now examine in detail the anatomy of right now. Analyzing the technical Alexandra Eala's genius, the WTA Tour's strategic environment and the significant cultural ramifications of this Indian Wells Stadium takeover. To comprehend how she orders this degree of focus, we have to first analyze her game, which is an intriguing combination of traditional gritty and contemporary strength. Eala plays with her left hand. This instantly provides her with a competitive edge on the tour. The serve with the left hand, naturally tailing away from the opponent's right-handed on the ad side, the backhand is a weapon that she has been carefully polished. But it's not just the serve. It's the vicious heavy top spin she produces on her forehand. Training while being closely monitored by the instructors at the Rafael Nadal Academy and often getting direction from is the renowned Spaniard himself. It is hard to overlook the stylistic inheritance. Her forehand initiates the court, shoving and biting viciously opponents who are behind the baseline and controlling the rally's geometry. But in contrast to some players who depend on only when spinning heavily, Eala has an extremely flat and piercing two-handed backhand. Her weapon is the swing, permitting her to alter the course of the ball down the line with breathtaking speed and precision. When you mix this powerful forehand in the Spanish technique with an aggressive, flatter backhand, you possess a player with surface adaptation skills and adversaries. Additionally, Indian Wells in particular is a tournament practically designed to fit her style. These courts are renowned for being very sluggish, high-firm courts that bounce. The rough exterior takes hold of the ball, enabling her top spin to optimize its impact, resulting in the ball to leap out of the attack zone of your opponent. Additionally, the dry desert air permits the ball to go more quickly through the air, allowing her forceful shots to more force. It's a perfect storm of environmental circumstances, fulfilling a well-suited skill set. However, physical instruments are just half the fight. In tennis as a professional, the mental strength needed to climb atop a stadium court. Being aware that thousands of people have come especially to see carrying your country's flag is a great weight. Numerous young talents have collapsed as a result of such shattering hopes. What makes Alexandra Eala so captivating is her cold attitude in between sentences. She has the poise of an experienced person. When she is at her breaking point, yet she doesn't hurry. She does her daily tasks, intentionally bounces the ball accuracy, and carries out her strategy. The source of this mental toughness is the very difficulties she has encountered since early life. When they hail you as the future of the athletic heritage of your nation when you are 14 years old, you have to develop quickly. In each junior game she played was examined by national media. Each triumph was hailed as a nationwide holiday, and each loss was thoroughly examined. She is a fake. In the crucible of national anticipation, this refers to the enormous, boisterous crowd at Indian Wells does not serve as a diversion for its fuel for her. Additionally, let's look at the WTA Tour's present situation and Eala's place in this puzzle. The women's game is presently in an intriguing period of change. Weave IG and other well-established dominating forces, Suteka's motion and powerful spin render her almost invincible on clay, and influential individuals like Aina Sabalenka and Elena Rykina, who is capable of serving adversaries away from the court. However, below this upper level there is a great deal of volatility and chance for young, eager athletes to make a breakthrough. Eala stands for a distinct danger to this institution due to her the game is very hard to read. She isn't a ball basher with just one dimension, nor is she a defensive counterattacker by nature. She is a chameleon of strategy. She is able to, when required, grind from the baseline, looping large, heavy balls far into the corners to undermine authority, but she is equally eligible to enter the baseline and using the ball before take time away from her opponents. This strategic versatility will be put to the test at Wells in India. The poll is intense, full of elite talent from the first round. For Eala to create a profound run here, she will need to make her way through a minefield of seasoned veterans and fellow up-and-coming talents. However, take into account the influence of the group we've been talking. Tennis is a very sport that isolates people. You're out there on an island by yourself with your mind, your uncertainties, as well as your rival. When momentum moves in opposition to you, the quiet of the stadium noise may be overwhelming. Now consider competing with Alexandra Eala in this surroundings. Each time her rival makes an unintentional mistake, the stadium erupts. Each time Eala scores a victory, the sound is overwhelming. The psychological strain applied on whichever standing on the other side of the net from her will be enormous. Crowds have been seen to pull players who were on the verge of losing, giving them an injection of adrenaline when they have heavy legs and they have scorching lungs. This California's Filipino-American community is not only watching. They're actively taking part in the game, acting as a source of emotional stability for Eala and a psychological risk for her rivals. The cultural and economic ramifications cannot be stressed at this time. Either. The ADP and WTA are always looking for methods to grow their worldwide reach to access new marketplaces and draw in fresh generations of admirers. For many years, Asia has been a primary goal for this enlargement. While nations such as Japan and China have effectively created Grand Slam winners and served as major competitions, Southeast Asia has remained mostly unrealized promise. You need Alexandra Eala to open an enormously sports-mad population, the one nation that fervently supports its athletes. We have seen how the legendary boxer it was Manny Pacquiao who brought the country to a halt each time he engaged in combat. Traffic would vanish and crime rates would decrease. To zero, the whole nation would hold its breath as a group. A is starting to order that same kind of dedication. Regarding the competition Indian Wells organizers, this is a wonderful chance. The unexpected surge of thousands of ardent supporters translate into enormous ticket sales, revenue, goods, sales, and concessions. However, more significantly, it raises the international prestige of the occasion. It produces a moment of virality. The pictures and videos of thousands of flag-waving Filipino supporters, singing tunes, and really embracing across the tennis court will be transmitted globally. It transmits a strong indication that tennis is not merely a top-tier country club sport, but a really worldwide game that may motivate intense grassroots fervor. Sponsors as well as brands will be eagerly observing the marketability of a youthful, well-spoken, very gifted and passionately Eala is a supported player. Celestial. She's a brand. Ambassador's vision, closing the distance between Western athletic customs and pride in Eastern culture. Additionally, we to consider how this affects the tennis at the local level back in the Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. For many years, young athletes in these areas have tended to boxing, badminton, or basketball primarily due to the fact that tennis is a very costly sport with little infrastructure in underdeveloped countries. Purchasing supplies, covering legal costs, and ultimately providing funds for foreign traveling for competitions might be expensive. Obstacle that prevents innumerable gifted preventing children from ever using a racket. However, everything is altered by visibility. When a little girl in Cebu or Manila observes Alexandra Eala enters a stadium, Californian court, welcomed by the thunderous praise from hundreds of admirers, a seed is sown. It demonstrates that the dreams are achievable. It confirms the sacrifices made by struggling parents pooling all of their money to purchase their kid a tennis shoe pair. Eala's accomplishment will surely lead to a spike in involvement in tennis in the Philippines. There will probably be increased investment in public courts, more financing for initiatives for growth, and a new generation of gamers that are raised with the intention of to mimic her forehand's strong top spin and her fierce spirit of competition. As we examine the story's depth, we must also recognize the amazing network of support behind her. The trip of a tennis player that plays professionally is seldom a one-person job. Even though it observes the court, it needs a committed group of coaches, physiotherapists, and above all, family. The sacrifices that the ELA made families to encourage Alexandra's aspirations are deep. Moving, overseeing the high demands of junior tennis, and making the difficult choice to send she must go to the Rafa Nadal Academy. Tremendous vision and trust. Right now at Indian Wells, encircled by her fellow citizens, is a confirmation of each they've made a tough decision. It's a shared triumph. The Mallorca Academy also merits great praise for acknowledging her innate ability and offering the world-class, tough, elite the setting required to improve it. They didn't only instruct her in hitting a tennis ball. She learned how to be an expert, how to control her body, and how to develop the unrelenting promotes an attitude that is equivalent to has a mature name. The combination of considering all these elements, her distinct playing style that is ideal for the desert circumstances, her exceptional mental resiliency developed under national pressure, the extraordinary and strong support for the California Filipinos living abroad, as well as the vast her successes' cultural significance develops a story that is really engrossing. This is no longer only an account of a tennis competition. It is a tale about depiction of the global community and about a young lady stepping boldly into her future. The startle waves that are presently echoing through wells in India are just the start. The A tennis facility is being constructed. Take note. There's a new force here, and she has accompanied a whole country to the entrance to the premier tennis club. Each and every the game she plays here will be an occasion, a spectacle of culture and sport merging in the most exquisite manner imaginable. As we anticipate how this amazing the narrative will develop over the next several days. For weeks, the thrill is only uncontrollable. The environment in which California has undergone an irreversible transformation. The thousands of admirers of Alexandra Eala who Indian Wells have become a sea of national pride has shown that tennis has the ability to evoke a raw tribal passion that has no bounds and customs of traditional sports. If she wins the competition, travels far to the semi-finals, or encounters an early departure from a seasoned veteran, the triumph is already certain. She has captured the interest of the world. She demonstrated the tennis establishing the indisputable strength of the market in Southeast Asia and the fervent devotion of the Filipino people. For those viewers at home, whether you've always been a tennis enthusiast or a person who has never seen any game before to today, now is the moment to listen carefully. You're seeing the birth of a worldwide celebrity. You're seeing a young lady bear the hopes of millions with dignity, authority, and a very competitive. The legal system of Indian Wells must never be forgotten. On the day the Filipino supporters gained control, radically altering the pulse of this esteemed competition. We'll be here to cover each enormous forehand, each critical juncture, and each thunderous shout from the audience. Be sure to keep yourself interested, sign up for the channel, please leave a remark below so that we be aware of where you are viewing from, and continue to support the amazing Alexandra Eala's ascent. I am grateful for come along for this in-depth analysis. And enjoy the amazing tennis that is ahead.